Sound check. Can everyone hear me? Perfect. Thank you. All right. Thanks everyone who's joined so far. We're just going to give a few minutes for people to join in. They're still coming into the waiting room. So just a couple more minutes. I'll make sure that we're able to go through. I guess before we begin the actual agenda, let me just say very quickly start very quickly by saying thank you to everyone who's joining us this evening. Thank you to everyone. You are here because you care about your community and you've made this commitment to the board to serve either as a resident member or as a board member. And that's a big thing because the only way we help our district is by doing it together. The community is the most important aspect of that. So I thank you in advance for that. And I'm looking forward to a very positive and productive year. So this is a slide show deck that we've done a number of times over the years. We've done it for board members and for prospective board members. There are some things that we want to reiterate this evening. So part of what the conversation I had with the district manager is we are going to go through this slide deck very soon. I suspect that most of you have probably seen a lot of elements here, so we don't want to dwell too much on any one aspect. But what we do want to do at the end of it is allow for questions and answers. So if there's any questions, to allow people to have the conversation and dialogue, as well as to kind of discuss some of the expectations that we want to set and some of the things we want to make sure are modeled as we go both into the board meetings and the committee meetings. Sounds good?
Sounds
Can I get a
good.
thumbs up?
Good evening, everyone. Stop it.
Good evening. All right, thank you very much. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our district manager, Dante Arnwine.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Just the way that my screen is set up, I can't see anyone, but it's good to see you. My name is Dante Arnwine. I serve as the district manager of Brooklyn Community Board 9. I will go through the slides, talk a little bit about how we operate as a board, who we are in the board office, and how we work to support the board and the community. The chair, Fred, will talk a little bit about the board and what it does to advocate for the community, for the welfare of the community. And so let's dive in. All right. So Brooklyn Community Board 9, quasi-synonymous with Community District 9. So sometimes you will hear folks say board or district. Community district is the actual geographical area that we cover as a board. The board itself is the city agency which our board members serve on. So we represent South Crown Heights, Prospect Lefferts Gardens, Wingate, and portions of North Flatbush. Very small portion of North Flatbush in our southeastern part of our district. What is a community board? So there are 58 other community district community boards citywide. We serve as the municipal bodies here in the city. So municipal meaning the most local level of representation that we have here in the city of New York. Now, community boards are often filled with up to 50 volunteers who serve as volunteers. They are appointed by the borough president. Half of them are appointed at the recommendation of the local council members. So for our district, our local council members representing us are Crystal Hudson out of the 35th, Rita Joseph out of the 40th, and then Darlene Mealy out of the 41st. And then board members serve, again, in a voluntary capacity for a 2-year staggered term. Now, board members are everyday people. I've been here at the board since March of 2021. I've seen people who are engaged in politics outside of the board. And then there are also people who have been appointed to the board who are fresh to the political scene, to the governmental space. And so it's really made up of people who live all across this district, who work in different capacities, and work in different fields. And so we really do cover, I think, a wide array of interest in our district.
And if I could just say something very quickly to that, that is really the strength of the board, exactly what Dante said. We have our grizzled veterans who've been here for a while. We have people who are new who just want to make a difference. And we have everything in between. We have people in so many different areas. One of the things I'll say is I'm always amazed by the caliber of people we have and the amount of things that they're doing. So really that is our strength, that is the beauty, and that's what is going to help us succeed. But I just want to acknowledge that right now. We definitely have some of the best talent right here in this district. Thank you, Dante.
So, yeah. So what does a community board do? So the community board serves in an advisory role. What does that mean? It makes recommendations regarding proposed variances variances from zoning, special permit applications, placement of municipal facilities in our district, and other land use items. The community board also plays a role in the budgetary process every year. So we do a district needs statement, 2 of them. One, which is really about capital and expense, and the other one is specifically about citywide facilities, or city facilities, excuse me. And so the role that this community board plays, as I mentioned, is the district needs statement. So we have an opportunity to recommend capital and expense items for hopefully the budget of the mayor to appropriate. So capital, to break it down as easy as possible, is typically capital are things that you can buy. So the city of New York can buy air conditioners for a school. That's capital, right? We need more healthy food programming in our primary schools. That's expense, more programming. So we get an opportunity to make recommendations on that. The community board also plays a role in monitoring how services are delivered to our district. That's where me as district manager and the staff of the community board, we play a major role. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then the board, of course, serves as the advocate, in my opinion, for the disposition and the welfare of the community. Fred, you want to run this one?
Sure, I'll take a very, very brief stab at this one. Okay, so to Dante's point, so when we looked at geographically, we have a community district that we serve. So when we talk about Community Board 9, there are a couple of aspects of it that we want to kind of talk about. So when we talk about the general board consists of the 50 members that are appointed by the borough president's office. So to as you know, to reiterate what Dante said, so the board members are appointed for 2-year terms and they're staggered. So every other year, half the board is up for reappointment, and we get our membership that way. But the work isn't just done in that general board meeting when the 50 board members meet. So we have different functions that are actually developed so that way we can actually continue to do the business of the board. So and you'll see, first of all, on that orange side, going from left to right. So on the orange side, you see the district manager and his role in the district office, which is credited. So the general manager is hired by the general board, and they oversee the operations of the district office. So all the complaints, all the paperwork, the letters, the inquiries, all that stuff gets handled. The day-to-day operations of the district get handled through the district office, and the district manager is in charge of the district office, which includes our assistant district manager, Mia Hilton, which most of you know as well. And we are in the process of bringing on a third person. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but our community associate, Khalid Jamaat, he's actually moved on. He's doing bigger and better things. It was great having him here. So we are in the process of trying to get that third person in the office, and the district manager is taking care of that right now. But that speaks to the operational side. Then we have the operations of the board. So the board elects 7 members. There are 7 members of the board who are elected as officers. So you have the chair, you have 2 vice chairs, the first and second vice chair. You have the executive secretary who's responsible for keeping the minutes. You also have a treasurer, and you have 2 members at large. So those officers are responsible for the supervision of the committees and the advisory side. So in between board meetings, when the general board is acting, those officers are responsible for making sure that oversight is happening. If there's any immediate questions, the officers are consulted with that. Additionally, very critical on that right side, you'll see is the committees. You will hear me say this often. The committees are the engine. They're the ones that power the activities of the board. Obviously, because of the areas that we're involved in land use, we're involved in housing, we're involved in sanitation, we're involved in public safety. Because of all those functional areas we address, it's impossible for us to do it in the 2 hours that we have, the 2 hours ish that we do every month. So the committees are critical because they are the ones who do the work. They do the vetting. They ask the questions. They ask the questions of the various committees and agencies. I'm sorry, agencies and organizations. They meet and they get the feedback from the community that is important for us to know whenever we're addressing any issues as well. So those committees are important. All the members of the board are assigned and responsible to at least one committee. And in addition to board members serving on committees, we absolutely need to have resident members as well. Because again, as a board, we don't know what we don't know. And there's a lot of expertise and knowledge that resides outside of the 50 members. So it's always critical and it's important that we have resident members as well who are dedicated to, who have whatever expertise or just passion for the district, who are able to help us do that work in the committee side.
All right, next up, let me just get my screen. Okay. So if you go on to the CB9 website, I hope you all have been on there, but I definitely would encourage you to go in there and get a feel for it. We have our bylaws and our governing docs. So the community board truly operates through its bylaws, its governing documents. It also operates via the city charter and the open meetings law. One of the things that we're very proud of is that our meetings are open to the public. We've done a very good job of figuring out how to stream them for folks who are unable to come to the meeting. So we do use our YouTube to be able to do that. But here on the website, you can go onto this. You can also see our previous district needs statement. So as I mentioned before, we do a district needs statement every year. To view the most recent and the previous ones, you can go on to our website to the About section and view those to get a sense of what the board has been advocating for some time. And I will say that some of the items in the district needs statement have been in the district needs statement for years, and that's because they've gone unaddressed. And so, we're as a staff, we're going to work diligently with the committees and the committee chairs to figure out, one, how we can condense the district needs statement, but to make it very pointed about what we want in our community district and how it impacts the people that we serve. So please go onto our website. And while I got this screen up, I might as well take the opportunity to just say, you can go onto our site and also get the agendas for the upcoming meetings. So the staff, we post the agendas once that we receive them from the committee chair. So you can go onto our site, go to agendas. We have the Environmental Protection Committee meeting tomorrow. That agenda is already up. You can go in there and view previous agendas as well. I definitely would encourage you all, again, to just get familiar with the site. So when people meet you and you introduce yourself as a board member, you can explain where you can find this information. It's public information. It's readily available on our website. So please feel free to direct people there. A little bit more about how we operate as an agency. So we have, let me do it like this. There are 18 community boards in Brooklyn, and they have a relationship with Brooklyn Borough Hall. So as chair of CB9, Fred serves as our representative on the borough board. As DM, I serve as a representative at our borough service cabinet meetings, where essentially all the district managers throughout Brooklyn meet with the community board department at Borough Hall. Also in that relationship, Borough Hall helps us, how can I say, administratively. So there are some financial payments that are required to go through Borough Hall for processing. One of those is like our rent. So they help us in various ways, but I would say that each board has its own relationship with Borough Hall. We work independently. We are our own city agency, even though members of this agency were appointed by the borough president. Again, we work independently, but we build a relationship with Borough Hall, and then they again do help us with some of our operational means.
Right. And if I could underscore that point as well, to the point that Dante just said, the board is independent. So though the 50 members of the board are appointed, all of them are appointed by the borough president. Some are appointed appointed by the borough president at the recommendation of the council members, as Dante had stated before. But I want to also say it right here. We don't work for the borough president. We are not beholden to the borough president. Our responsibility is to our community district. So my interest, first vice chair, all the board members, our interest is the welfare of the residents of Community District 9. So borough president, I mean, with all due respect, he doesn't have power and authority over here. It's the people. We are the ones who do this, and we do this for the best interest of the district. Thank you very much for that.
Of course. Fred.
Okay. All right. So earlier we talked about the committees. So again, and I'll repeat this because it really needs to be said. The committees are the lifeblood of they're the engine that drives it. So the board is divided into 10 committees. We have the executive committee, which consists of all the officers. Those are the voting members of the executive committee. But we also have the committee chairs who are part of the committee as well, non-voting members. So we have the committee chairs come because they because of our advisory role, it's important for us to understand what's going on in terms of what committees are doing, what work is being done, what they're doing, what work is being done, provide guidance and support where it's necessary, make referrals as necessary as well. And wherever possible, the committees are working on things that are of similar nature. We can ask for those collaborations as well to say, well, listen, this is something that's related between the two of you. So in each of your spheres, if you can look at the question from different angles, because we probably need to develop solutions for the board that are going to have to involve those different areas. So that's some of the activity of the executive committee. And then we have other subject matter committees after that. So we have economic development, we have environmental protection, health and social services, housing, parks, public safety, transportation, land use, and we have youth services, education, and library committee. For that particular committee, that's been meeting jointly for the last couple of years. And actually one of the things that we're looking forward to as a preview is probably, I think we did that as an experiment, but I think it might be time where we actually combine those committees formally. So they, by our bylaws, they are two distinct committees, but I think it's time for us to do that. And that's part of what we've been encouraging as a board. We don't have to be stuck with these things. We can make sure we reconfigure things and set the priorities of the board through our committees in terms of if there are other areas that we think need to be examined. If we think we can work better, absolutely, those are conversations we should have. And just talking a little bit about the committees, I wanted to set the expectation in terms of the committees are parts of the board, organs of the board. They do not supersede the board. So the committees operate subordinate to the board, and they perform the task of, the various tasks that we're looking at here. So they send recommendations to the board to vote on. They talk about events and programming that might be required for the community. The committees are required by the bylaws, by the charter, to meet at least 5 times per annum. Typically, most committees will meet on a monthly basis. We may have committees that may skip a couple of months. I'll put it out already. November and December tend to be very tough months just because of all the family and other commitments. So committees may or may not meet during the month of November and December, but otherwise we encourage our committees to meet as often as they can. We want the agendas to be aggressive. Let's think big about the issues that are affecting the committee, and let's see what we can put into play in terms of addressing some of these matters. The committees are responsible for keeping minutes for public review. Again, they discuss the issues. These are where the conversations happen. Again, to the point where, unfortunately, we are time limited when we get to the general board meeting. But the committee structure, the committee time allows us to have really full conversations on what's going on, and give the kind of time that's required to develop the solution necessary. And as far as the committees go, I want us to be, I want us to be visionary. I want us to be bold. I want us to dream. I want us to think about what do we want our district to be, not just be bound by what we haven't done or what we think we can just get, but let's see what we can actually get. What can we develop? How can we be visionary? How can we change things?
All right, thank you. I just want to note a correction on one slide here. The district office staff, we are the district manager, we are the assistant district manager, and we are community associate. Just want to make that clarification. That should have been changed. Fred, you can go ahead and take this one.
Sure. Right. And this slide, I think many of you might have seen this actually when we sent out the committee, the request for the committee assignments. So this is really just to give an idea of some of the things that we've done in the past in terms of like, for example, looking at economic development. At one point, we had Shop Local 365. We had workforce development and training opportunities, collaborations, entrepreneurship training, e-commerce training, as things that we've thought about and have actually done in the past. And some of these we want to see if it's possible to continue in the future as well. But it's not limited to that. Again, this goes back to the committee and the things that the committee thinks are the priorities that we should be pushing. And it talks about, some of the typical responsibilities, and it talks about some of the agency contacts. So in economic development, how do we build bridges with certain city agencies? So for entrepreneurship, are we bringing small business services to bear directly in the district? Are we able to share programs with that? In terms of if there are other relative, agencies that are relevant to the mission of the committee, bringing them in, getting information, doing those requests for information. That way we have the appropriate data. So, for every committee, they have different things that they've done in the past. But again, you are not limited to this as well. Please feel free to go back to your respective committees and say, listen, what can we do different in terms of changing the game? Thank you, Dante.
Thank you. All right. All right. So as the chair mentioned earlier, board members are required to serve on at least one committee during the session. So as you should be aware, the session for the community board runs September to June. In the months of July and August, all community boards are on their hiatus. And so typically no businesses is taking place during the summer, though, emergencies can be called. Board members also are required to attend their monthly and the general board. So 2 meetings a month required, 2 meetings a month to have full attendance. That's the minimum ask. Don't get me wrong. If you want to go to other committee meetings, feel free. Go to those committee meetings. You can go just as a member of the public. It won't count against your attendance. But for the committee, if you're a board member or a resident committee member for the committee that you've been appointed to, it will count against your attendance if you miss those committees. But feel free to also attend other committees if you have that capacity. If you are unable to make it to a meeting, please let the board office know, preferably via email if you have that capacity, but if not, feel free to call the office to let us know that you're not going to be able to make it to the meeting so we can inform the committee chair prior to the meeting. Board members, you all are the eyes and ears of the community, especially for the board office. We seldom get the opportunities to go out into the community and engage. We're a very small team of 3, so we're typically in the office. And so things are happening out in the community. We need board members to report those things. And I would say that over the past couple of years, more board members have been doing this. So it's good. It's a good process. So essentially, if you see something out in the community, create a 311 request. You'll get the service request number. And then I would highly, again, recommend emailing, but you can call. Send that information over to the board office, and we will engage the city agency to expedite the request to get that issue resolved. Board members also connect with local block associations and local organizations. We have a lot of people who have been on our boards who are on their leaderships within their block associations or local organizations like the Precinct Council and various other organizations. So our board members are all over the place. I ask, as someone who is charged and responsible with disseminating information, help the board office, help us disseminate information. So when we get a lot of information in the board office. We send a lot of information to board members and via and to the public through our e-blast. If you know folks who aren't connected, get them connected to our e-blast. If they don't have internet, get the information to them. However you can, whatever makes sense, let us know. If you know that there's just an individual out there who they don't have internet, they don't have the means, let me know, right? We'll figure out how to mail the calendar, if need be, to the individuals. We want to get as many people as connected as possible. We've done a really good job with our e-blast, sending out information regarding the board and other public hearings and things of that nature. So we ask, please help us disseminate that information. And then last thing, board members are encouraged to serve in leadership roles on the board. So as the chair mentioned, in June, every year, there is an election to elect the executive officers of the board. Well, upcoming in the coming months, hopefully this month or next month, the committees, you all will be electing your vice chairs and secretaries. So please serve in those capacities. That really helps the committees operate efficiently. That allows for the board office to engage the committees in an extremely efficient manner. That means we can get information from you, and then we can get it out to the public, and everything is streamlined. So I definitely encourage board members, if you're on, serve in those roles.
If I could just say something very quickly up to 2 points you just raised. One, especially about serving as ambassadors, those 311 requests. So what's critical is, we don't know what we don't know. And the city runs a lot by data. So it's important for us to make sure that those conversations, I'm not just angry with my neighbor and we're just waving across the stoop talking about what's not happening. We got to make sure we get those things documented. We got to make sure that they're escalated, because a lot of the times we can get them resolved, but it's just a matter of we need to let the appropriate agencies know. And just to give them that praise right now, our district office is great at getting things resolved. But again, it starts with making sure that the awareness happens. So to the point where it's like a 311 request is submitted. And again, once it's submitted, to make sure that you let Dante and the team know so that way they can follow up for you, for people as well. And, it was interesting because I was at a public safety meeting with NYPD, and one of the conversations was, they said a lot of people put 311 requests in, but they don't want to be involved. And I understand that. You don't always want to. But this is an opportunity for us as a board to be those advocates as well, where if somebody has an issue, and let people know. Maybe you don't want your name on it, that's okay. But at least if you can give us the information and the number, we can, one, make sure it gets resolved. And then we can get back to you as well to let you know, listen, we got your information, we got it taken care of for you. This is the value add that we can add to the community. The second thing I wanted to address on this slide very quickly, and we'll try to talk about this a little bit as well. We probably should have bolded and underlined that last one about members are encouraged to serve as vice chairs and secretaries of the committees. It can be a hard thing when one person is expected to be the keeper of the peace, the note taker, the person who writes everything and goes to all the meetings and comes to the executive board meetings and does those and everything else, and with everything that goes on with that. So part of what we're trying to do is make sure we spread the load a little bit in terms of we're not trying to burn anyone out. So to assist the chairs of the committees by serving as vice chairs, taking on some of those tasks. The secretary role, sometimes there are people who are just really good note takers and we love them. And if they are willing to serve as a full-time secretary, great, because it gives that consistency. Otherwise, when you go back to your committees, if you see that nobody's really quite willing to do the secretary role, at least have a rotating note taker basis. create all these notes for a committee for 10 months out of the year. You have a turn and you give your notes in and you've done that turn. And typically, if we're talking about if there are 8 or 9 people on a committee, that means you do it once for the year and you're done. But again, it's a matter of that's the contributions that we're looking for the team. And I want to stress that part of the reason why we want people to look for these leadership roles is because I want to make sure that as a board that we are looking at the fact that term limits are a real thing and they're coming up soon. So one of the things that I want to push as a chair is that we want to make sure we are developing leadership and capacity in our district, in our boards. So we want people to have those leadership opportunities to learn how things work, to see how these things are done and learn and see how we improve processes, because we're going to start having that turnover come. And we want to make sure that the bench is ready to take it up when that time comes as well. And again, it's like, and even not even just limited to those opportunities. If there are particular events or activities you want to lead, please let us know. And we want to make sure that we support you as committees, as board, as officers, as a district office, that we support you in those things as well. So that way we can develop that leadership. Thank you very much.
All right. Fred, you should probably do this one.
Okay, I will. I don't want to belabor the point. The text is very clear in terms of what can get you kicked off. The big thing is this. The only thing I will ask is that for everyone to just be respectful of the board and the commitment you're making. The committees don't function if we don't have quorum. The board doesn't function if we don't have quorum. Even when we don't have members show, even if we have quorum, part of the thing that's missing is your perspective when you're not there for a meeting. And I want to be very clear. I always say that, we understand life happens. So, you have families, you have commitments, you have work, you have other organizational things that you do outside, which is part of the reason why you're here to begin with, because you're connected, you're plugged in, and you're dedicated to the community. And we will never begrudge that. And sometimes you do have conflicts. The only thing we ask is that if the conflicts end up being so much that you can't commit the kind of time to the board, to at least please communicate with us and we can see what we can do. And if it's not something that we're able to resolve at that time, at least we can have that conversation in terms of what's the best contribution you can make at that time, or if it's a contribution you want to defer towards later on. But we just want to make sure that we're operating from that perspective of respect for everyone. Please make sure that you get the calendars. If you're not able to make it, just to make sure you're communicating that, letting the district office know, letting your chair know as well. The requirements aren't hard, but we just want to make sure that people are respectful of that again today.
All right. So the general board. So our general board meeting is the meeting that happens monthly with all of the board members. Our general board meetings typically take place on the 4th Tuesday of each month, of course, excluding July and August. During general board meetings, board members will conduct the board business in a public meeting. Again, our meetings are open to the public. Like literally open to the public. We also live stream them on our YouTube. So if folks are unable to make it, they can view it on our YouTube. The committee chairs, the DM, the chair of the board, we all give reports in the general meeting. Other city agencies, elected officials will also provide comments, give greetings, give updates on programming or legislation, things that are affecting the district. Our meetings are conducted using Robert's Rules of Order, parliamentary procedure. If you're not familiar with Robert's Rules of Order, I would encourage you to search it. There's a lot out there, a lot of good Robert's Rules options out there. So please check that out. And if you don't know of any, please reach out to the board office and we will find you that information. During our general board meetings, there is a portion of the meeting called public comment. Typically, public comment runs up to 30 minutes. Members of the public can register the day of by walking into the meeting and signing up at the table, or they can call or email in advance to sign up, and we'll put them on the list. But they can bring greetings, bring issues, attention, whatever it might be, before the board. And then, sorry, I can't see the thing over here. Oh, yes. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Our agendas are found on our website. Okay. I have put an example of an agenda up here so you can familiarize yourself with what it looks like. People get the agenda, they can go to the YouTube, that information's on there. The location, the time and place of our meeting is on there. The business of the board is on our agendas. And so it really is informative. We want to make sure people get the most accurate information. So again, our agendas can be found online. Also, the minutes of the meetings can be found online as well. And when the board conducts its business and produces a resolution, we also put those resolutions online as well for the public, and we send those resolutions to the respective elected officials or city agencies or entities. One point I just want to note on this side specifically, you see it says typically in a different color. Very important. We have a very diverse district, and so some of our meetings cannot take place on the fourth Tuesdays of the month. So we have to massage the schedule to figure out, when we can have the meetings, our general board, and get all the committees to meet before the executive, so the chairs can report out at executive. So you will see that the months of definitely October, I believe maybe November, and definitely December, those schedules are honestly just shrunk. So if I believe all of our meetings are basically taking place in the first 14 days of those months. So go onto our website, look at the calendar, get a feel for it. If you see any issues on the website, just call the board office or email the board office, let us know. We don't do the calendar. A different city agency does the calendar. So I've got to reach out to them. That takes a little bit of time, but we can get that addressed. Just let us know. But all the information is on our website for our meetings. The board office. So in the board office, what do? We participate in the coordination and delivery of services. We process complaints from residents throughout the district. We handle all the administrative items of the board, so like grant and making sure that there's meeting space, those sorts of things. We attend committee meetings and provide reports. So as I mentioned before, as DM, I provide a report at the general board meeting. We also help resolve minor local complaints, ones that are reoccurring or impact multiple individuals. So, we'll figure out how to try to mitigate those issues as best as possible. And we also help the committees set the agendas, record the meetings, those sorts of administrative clerical items. So as you go to your committees over the course of the session, here in September, essentially what will happen is you'll go to your committee meeting. There will be a staffer in the board office with the committees. The staffer is just there to really set up the meeting, to make sure you have the agendas, paper, pens, those sorts of things, get the recording ready for the meeting, make any type of copies, those sorts of things that you might need. If you are a board member or a committee chair please send us this information. If you need anything from the board office, the more notice or advance that you give us, the better. But we are there to support. We are here to support the board in its entirety. It doesn't matter what's happening in the political arena, federally, state, city, doesn't matter. We are here to support everyone in this district. And so we really work in I would say, basically like a nonpartisan type of way. And so please use us as a resource. We're there. We have access to city agencies, to our elected officials, and we have access to data. A lot of the information that I send out that you will likely see upcoming is public information. So we want to make sure as a board, you all and the folks who join our meetings are well informed, so we can make the best decisions for our district. But the board office, we handle the administrative side in its entirety, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. So on the administrative side, again, Brooklyn Community Board 9 is a city agency. We're funded through the mayor's office of OMB. Our funding is approximately $421,000, which covers staff salaries, rent, and operational expenses. Paper. One of the things I'm very proud of is we're going to be bringing ASL to our meetings. That's also an expense. And so we work diligently to support the board in those capacities. We do receive very little discretionary funding from local council members for specific initiatives, typically operating, but very little. Our fiscal year starts July 1st and ends June 30th every year. So essentially, we do our absolute best to use our budget in its fullest between that time span. After June 30th, it's a whole new budget, and we move forward. Again, the board office budget is administered by me, the district manager. I work hand in hand with the treasurer, and the treasurer will provide a budget report at the general board meeting, at some of the general board meetings throughout the session. And then the district manager, I will work with the committees and occasionally the entire board to procure, if funding allows, certain materials or services that the board needs to fulfill its business. So I do all that administrative stuff from the administrative side. Again, we have a very small staff in the board office. So, we work hand in hand, we work as a team. Again, use us as a resource. We're there. Please use us. We're there. How to join the community board. So 2 ways. Most of you might be board members. As the chair had mentioned earlier, you're appointed by the borough president at the recommendation of the council members. So one way is via the borough president's application process. The other way is you can fill out a resident committee member application, which comes out in the summer. And so a resident committee member, I will talk about after. There's a slide specific for that. But again, that application process from the borough president's office, they typically open that application in the fall, I would say mid-November, and close it like mid-February, typically Valentine's Day. So it's a small window. That application is open. As soon as the application goes live, we put it on our website. We blast it out in the e-blast. If someone needs paper copy, they can come to the board office. We'll print it out for them. But I do know that it's kind of an extensive application now. So like Borough Hall does kind of recommend doing it online. But if you need paper, we will print it out in the board office. We want to make sure every individual who wants to apply has the opportunity to apply. And I did put the information, you can see the information here. Carol Ann Church, she is the Director of Community Boards at Borough Hall. You all as board members, board members will sometimes receive emails directly from Borough Hall. So I encourage you to read all of your emails and take note of where those emails come from. Sometimes Borough Hall plans things, and to be honest, they don't even let me know. So like, I believe that board members have their some type of meeting on September 18th. So some emails will come directly from Borough Hall. Some emails will come directly from the board office. just pay close attention to where those emails come from. And if you ever see, there's maybe a scheduling issue, don't hesitate to reach out to the board office so we can get that addressed. Any questions regarding the community board application should be directed to Borough Hall. We do not see the application, handle the application, other than literally giving someone a paper application. We don't deal with the application at all in the board office or at CB9. It's handled entirely through Brooklyn Borough Hall. So any questions pertaining to that should be directed to the borough president's office, and their information is there.
And just to underscore that as well. Again, so the process is handled entirely through the borough president's office. We have no input whatsoever in terms of that process. So it's not even that they come back to us and ask for recommendations or opinions. It's done entirely through that. As Dante said, it's an extensive application. There'll be a lot of information. It asks a lot about what your connections are to the community. What do you do? What kind of contributions are you making? And things of that nature, demographic nature. And then certain demographic information you got to take care of as well. But again, all of that is outside of the board office. So just to make sure that everyone's clear with respect to that. Thank you.
As I mentioned before, one of the ways that you can get on our board is you can be a resident committee member. So again, that application goes live during the summer. And then during the summer, the board chair will review those applications and then make appointments to our committees. So on our committees, we have board members, and then we have resident committee members. All committee members, resident and board members, are voting members. Very important. So that's why, the chair mentioned earlier, quorum is vital to doing business. You got to have quorum in order to be able to vote and to pass things. And so making sure that folks are showing up, very important. So resident committee members, again, are appointed by the chairperson of the board. They can also be appointed by the committee chair throughout the session. Mentioned resident application goes live in the summer. Next year, as always, the resident member application will go live in the summer as well. If you have any questions about being a resident committee member, feel free to reach out to the board office. I encourage folks who might not have the capacity to do 2 meetings a month. If you want to get involved in a specific topic or area, maybe being a resident committee member is the move for you. I've seen, and there are definitely members on this call who have been resident committee members and then have become board members. And so I can tell you that Borough Hall always requests our attendance for our committees, and we're proud to send it over. And so they do note and acknowledge when resident committee members show up to our committee meetings and show up. And so that is a pretty good way of becoming a board member if you're interested, or if you know someone who's interested. How to submit a complaint. This is very important. I mentioned 311 request earlier. So 311 is one of our ways of monitoring complaints that are happening in our district. It really allows us to create a paper trail of the issues that are being brought to the board office. So what we ask is, if you see an issue, let's say it's a broken street light or a pothole, whatever it might be, you can search NYC 311 service request, go on there, pick out the appropriate topic. You can see it's broken down by popular category, A to Z. Pick the complaint, submit the information. If you have photos, submit it with the photos. Put all the information in the complaint. You will get a 311 service request number that looks like on the screen. When you get that 311 service request number, you can call the board office or email the board office with that service request number to let us know, okay, this was the issue. I submitted this complaint. Boom, there it is. And then from there, what we will do in the board office is we'll reach out to the city agency, let them know this was created, and request that this issue be expedited. If they can move resources around to address it, whatever that issue might be, we request for that to get addressed in a timely fashion. Now, I will say that most requests are 311, but for some reason, the Department of Transportation has their own complaint system. So you will get a different type of service request number. It will say DOT something, 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 something. That's fine. You can still send that over, and we will reach out to DOT with that information so they can zero in on that request and hope and expedite that to a resolution. One of the things that we created over the summer, I'm gonna go through this real quick, is we did create a CB9 intake form. So what we want to do is really monitor the complaints that come directly to the board office, not through 311, I guess. And so we created that intake form. I'll talk a little bit more about it at the general board meeting, and you'll see it appear in our e-blast moving forward. But I just wanted to bring that to bring that to light, that we created that, and it's going to be really our way of monitoring in real time. Okay, these are the issues that people are telling us on the ground, and this is how agencies are resolving it. This is the last slide. So before questions, one of the main responsibilities of being a district manager and being on the administrative staff is the dissemination of information. As I mentioned earlier, we get a lot of information into the board office, and oftentimes that information is citywide. It's not condensed to the community district, and so we try to be diligent about condensing it. We want to make sure they're getting the information that's coming to the board. If you know people, again, that aren't connected, who want to get connected or should know information, please get them to sign up for our e-blast. We get all types of information, hearings about everything that you can possibly imagine in the city of New York. Brooklyn Bus Redesign, that's coming online very soon. We're going to get all that information. You can literally see our e-blast off to the right side here. We changed it because it was a lot of information. So we broke it down into these categories. So you can go into our e-blast, you can click, let's say, employment opportunities, and it will bring you to the employment opportunities for that we've received throughout the week. So we've condensed our information. We've made it more digestible for people. I think it's a lot better this way. We want to get people connected. And the best way is, honestly, if they have internet and they have email, get them signed up for this. If they don't, get them connected to the board office. Our email is info.bko9@cb.nyc.gov. We're located at 890 Nostrand. We've been there for decades. Have them stop by the board office. We're very friendly. We will get them connected in some form or fashion, so folks know what's taking place in the district. We have a lot of projects that are coming online this year. I can guarantee you there's going to be housing developments coming online. I mentioned the Brooklyn bus redesign, also the Flatbush priority bus project. There's going to be a lot of projects coming online in our district, and this is our way of really getting information out to the community. So if you are a board member, please share this in your networks. If you are just a member of the public and you're here, sign up for our e-blast. If you haven't, share it with everyone that you know in your building, your networks as well, so we can continue to get information out to people in a timely fashion. With that, Fred, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. So we're going to take questions in a minute. I just had a couple of things I wanted to throw out just to reinforce some things, but also just some things in terms of how we're operating. I just wanted to give a sense of that. We talked about attendance. We talked about committee roles. Communications is going to be key. There's going to be a ton of it coming at you. So one of the things we would recommend is, if you haven't done it already, please make sure you kind of either get something that's dedicated to CB9. So I know a lot of people who just get Gmail accounts where it's like it'll just be your Gmail account that gets all your city, your community board stuff. We can get you a city email account as well. That's a request that you would put into the board office, and the city can set you up with a CB email address. Now, with that being clear, it's a city address. So when you are no longer affiliated with the board, that would go away. But the one thing that happens is that for legal purposes, if they need to get something, they just go into that email address and they don't have to get anything from you. So but just for that consideration, just in terms of if there's information you want to get, so you can streamline that in terms of how you're getting it, and it's always consistent, so that when you're not losing messages in an email box, because that is something that will happen. You're going to get a ton of information from CB9. Additionally, I just want to also reiterate about the difference between the board and the district office as well. And maybe a way to look at that is that the board is policy. So the board is looking at issues, it's looking at recommendations, and there's certain things that the board is supposed to sign off. Again, to that point about variances and about liquor licenses and certain applications that come through. The district office takes care of service complaints, the issues. So if somebody, if there is somebody doing illegal dumping, that'll go to the district office. They'll make sure they engage their appropriate agencies. If there are complaints about noise, if there's complaints about 311, if there, or different things of that nature, again, those kinds of things will go to the district office. It's important that they get that. And what ends up happening is, again, it goes to the data that we track on that. Because again, depending on how much we get, sometimes you'll have service issues that become a policy issue. Where it's like, okay, it's not that they missed the garbage one time or two times or three times, is they never come to that end of the district. At which point there was escalated conversations that the board should be involved. So, but just to kind of give that perspective in terms of that, but that's why it's important that we understand that. Also, when we talked about the catchment, we talked about the geographic part of CB9, about where we go from. So we go from Eastern Parkway to about Clarkson, bounded roughly by Ocean Avenue on that western end, and then by Utica, and I think Rochester, does a little, it does a little something on that other end. Those are our specific confines. Outside of that, so you would notice are things like Prospect Park, the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, Brooklyn Museum. They're not technically ours, but at the same time, we are an adjacent. So, and absolutely, our members do go across and we do utilize those things. So if we see or there are issues going on with those things, we absolutely should be a part of those conversations. And typically, myself and the district manager do insist that we are part of those conversations. So please feel free to come if there are any questions or issues about resources in the district or adjacent to the district, because they do matter to us and our residents, because we do utilize and frequent those as well. And as I speak about that as well, I think one of the things that we should be proud of, for example, even the conversation about Downstate Hospital, Downstate is not ours, but it affects us. And I'm proud to say that our board is very active in that conversation. And we should always seek to take leadership, especially when there are things that might be happening, even if it's not specifically within our confines, but it affects our residents. We should always be prepared to take a stand and address those things as well to the best of our ability. I also wanted to talk about, I think one of the things that throws people off, sometimes puts people off on the community board, is when we hear that we are an advisory body. So our things don't necessarily have the force of law, but they are still important. And it's important that we do the kind of work that we do in terms of advocacy, because on a number of occasions, the resolutions that we've drafted as a board really at least made people think. And in some instances, we won the day because we were careful with the way we did it. So even though it was advisory, our counsel was regarded in terms of we came up with some really powerful arguments. So it's important that I don't want anybody to be discouraged by the fact that we're advisory, because we still are able to make an impact with the way we come out with our resolutions and the way we fight for our people and we advocate. 311 requests again. I'm not even going to, I'm going to reiterate that. Please make sure we're serving as ambassadors, letting everybody know, utilize that. And if they are having issues with that, let them come to the district office and they can talk them through that process as well. It's a shame if we let people suffer because they feel that there's nobody they can go to or no one who will fight for them. The district office team fights for everyone. So please make sure we're utilizing that as well. I also wanted to talk about trainings. So obviously we're not going to get everything we need to get out of this session this evening. So one of the things we are looking at is doing supplemental training. So we talked a little bit about Robert's Rules. So there are resources with that. even, we might even be able to have a conversation with respect to Robert's rules. They govern the conduct of our meeting, but I would just even go as far to say is I think that most of our operations are just based on the premise that we are here to have conversations. Sometimes there'll be tough conversations, but there'll be conversations. And the way we're able to have those conversations is if we're respectful and if we understand that we are not the only voice in the room. So, I try to model that when we come to our board meetings, and I'm asking that we carry that to the committee meetings as well, where we want to let people be heard, but we also want to understand that there has to be a format and a structure to that. And it only works when everybody agrees that, you know what, I have to wait my turn. I will get my turn. And, as a board and the committees, we make sure that people get their turn and have the opportunity to be heard. But we also have to say, I have to submit to the process and understand I'm third or fourth on the speakers list, but I will get that opportunity. So we want to make sure we're doing that and communicating that. Public comment, the only thing I would say, and this probably pertains more to board members, public comment, because of the time restrictions we have, again, we have 30 minutes to do it. Board members, per the bylaws and per the city rules, have an opportunity to bring up and speak on issues at the appropriate times during any point during a meeting, as long as they're recognized by the chair. Members of the public don't get that. So I would only ask that we please allow for members of the public to get that time, and they will get priorities during the meeting, because during other points of the meeting, we don't typically let them speak. So we want to make sure that they are fully able to take use of that, make use of that 3 minutes of time during the public commentaries. I want to reiterate what Dante said. The calendar is crazy for the first half of our year. September, October, November, December, everything shifts. Everything is going to shift. Typically, we try and keep the dates consistent in terms of when committees meet, when the board meets, and when the executive committee meets. But just because we want to be respectful of religious observances and holidays and everything, we have to navigate that schedule a little bit. I would just ask for everybody to please be proactive and check the dates in advance to make sure you understand when your committee is meeting, and please do your best to try and make sure we meet during those. It gets a little bit more regular after the new year, but it's still, we want to make sure that people are coming in for those first few meetings of the year. I wanted to say something very briefly about our district office team. We got some of the best in the business in that office in 890. Dante is there. He is experienced. He is respected. He is connected. Mia, her reputation precedes her anywhere she goes. She's able to get things done, and she was able to make the network. She has networks that are so valuable to our district. We've always been very, very fortunate to have some very strong support in terms of the community assistant, now to be the community associate, now community associate role. The one thing I ask is that we also be respectful of them as well. So they are not the servants, they are not the maids, they are not the persons that we snap and our fingers and they're supposed to get things done. They are resources that help us to do the things, and we want to make sure that we are respecting them as professionals and as human beings. So I always want to make sure that we're cognizant of that in our interactions with them as well. So I want to set that tone as we go forward. Last thing I wanted to discuss very quickly is in terms of the district manager talked about that. You saw the number, 421,000, which is peanuts. So $421,000 to run a district office in a district full of 100,000 plus residents. And most of that money will go to salaries and to rent. So a significant portion of that is already encumbered. So there's not much we're doing with that. And I wanted to set the expectation early in terms of there is not a lot of money to go around. Dante and the team have been able to support a number of things. So it's like depending on certain events, they're able to do certain things. There might be some wiggle room in the budget, but I also want to make sure that we set the expectation that is not play money for the board. That is for the district office to do what it needs to do for, in terms of make sure the office is working. But with that being said, I do want the committees to think about plans and events and things they can do of that nature. So part of that, well, what we do for that is there is a budget form that we will try and make sure that we get everybody acclimated with again. What the form is designated to do is to say, listen, if you've got an idea and you've got a plan, let's put it to paper and let's identify all the resources that are going to be necessary. Let's plan ahead. Let's talk about what are we going to need? How much is it going to cost? Where can we get it from? Are we able to go to partners to say, okay, well, listen, can you underwrite some aspect of the event and everything? So, but the whole point being, we want to make sure we're being thoughtful. I remember in college, it always used to be very easy to say, we're going to have a party tomorrow, just get a DJ and some potato chips, and we were good. The events that we're planning to do in the district take more time. They take more time. There's more planning. There's more phone calls that have to be made. So we want to make sure that we're being proactive and we're being thoughtful in terms of the planning. So we would just ask for everybody to please make sure you're utilizing those forms. Make sure that any events are approved by the committees. That's very important. So make sure that this is something that the entire committee buys into. It should be a vote saying that the committee was in favor of this. The committee should vote on the actual proposal. One of the things we want to make sure is that when the committee presents it, it's not, even though the committee adopts it, it has to go before the executive committee because, again, that supervisory function, where we'll look at it and say, okay, that sounds good. This is a winner. Or we may say, you know what, sounds good, but there's a couple of unanswered questions that we may need to have answered. We may refer it back. But the idea being, we want to make sure we have a conversation. We want to make sure that we set committees up and we set the board up to win at all times. So just saying that, let's make sure we're being thoughtful. Let's be ambitious, but let's be, let's make sure that we're doing things appropriately as well. I'm going to end at that because I want to make sure, hopefully that answers some questions, but we want to open the floor for questions as well, or comments or thoughts or anything that they want to let us know as well. Nikolai, I know I saw your hand earlier, so you put it back down. I'm glad you put your hand back up. So listen, if we could ask, just for this purpose, if you have a question, you use the raise hand function, and we'll just try and go down the speaker's list. So Nicola, we see you first. Does anybody else have a question? I don't see anybody else, but if anybody has a question, just feel free to raise your hand or you can unmute. Go ahead, Nicola. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I don't know what's going on with my video. Anyway, I'm Technicolor today. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nicola Cox. I'm on the Land Use Committee, ULURP Committee, and I wanted to make a couple points. As Chair Baptiste said, and Dante, although we're called advisory, we definitely serve a role of really advocating for our community. And a big part of that comes from the information that the board office is able to share with us. And if we have issues, they're able to help escalate within the channels of the city. For instance, last year when we had the tax lien, the water bill and tax lien process, which affected many homeowners in our district, several of them, the community board sent out several emails alerting the board, alerting the community to the issue. Many neighbors don't get those emails, don't read them, but we were able to follow up. And me, as with my block association, I was able to follow up with several neighbors who weren't aware because they don't live on site or they weren't checking. And so I really thank you because that made a big difference to helping us save a few homes, hopefully. Also, I noticed that land use was not on the list of the detailed of activities, land use and transportation. And those two committees, I think they're more, while we do plan some activities in terms of educating on the zoning process and land use, we tend to be more reactionary, following up on whether it's spot rezonings in our neighborhood or citywide rezonings and other actions, gathering information, educating the community, and then again, advocating at commission hearings and other activities in the city. Transportation is the same. We talked about the bus redesign. So those two committees, while we do take some proactive stances, we tend to be some of the committees that advocate heavily for the community. So I wanted to make sure that that was known by people that may be looking at this video later on and they're not familiar with some of the activities. All for now. Thank you. Thanks, Mia. Thanks, Dante. And do we have an associate?
We almost there.
Okay, great. So again, I know we give you a hard time sometimes, Dante, but we definitely appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for sharing the information I send out.
Thank
And
you.
definitely not a shot at either land use or transportation committees. This is only just for instructional purposes,
Mhm.
but absolutely. But I appreciate your point too. And I think it's important that we say that as well. Sometimes we feel like, yeah, we're reacting to whatever the emergency of the day is, or whatever the bad application is that's coming down the pipe. As we go back to the committees, I think we've started that work in a number of committees. I know that there's a framework that's been developed by land use. I know that there have been a couple of proposals developed out of transportation where I want us to start thinking about that when we go back to the committees. How can we be proactive in terms of what is the vision we have for our community? One of the things I want to be able to do is communicate to anybody who comes to the board. There is some place you can go and you can see what our thoughts and cares are about. So in terms of when it comes to land use, we want there's certain density we want to do. We want to make sure we're protecting our neighbors. We want to make sure that we're able to live in the communities that we've grown up in, that our kids can grow up here as well. We want to make sure that we have green spaces. We want to make sure that our transportation grid is sufficient. We want to make sure the power stays up and a number of other things as well. And that the services are being provided in the way they need to. So as we go back to our respective committees, to that point, we don't have to necessarily I don't want us to always be reactive. Let's talk about proactively what we can do, because that also allows us to say, no, we can go to all of our elected officials and all the stakeholders and say, if you're going to bring something to CB9, you already know in advance, you've been warned. This is what we are for, and this is what we are against. I don't want us to always be the board that says no, 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 no. It's important for us to also say what we are, that we will stand for. So, but thank you very much, Nicola, for all the comments with that perspective as well. And to that point about the tax lien sale, I think it was so important as well, and the success of that, and it really underscored the point. Sometimes there are better messengers. Fred or Dante saying something doesn't necessarily carry some weight. Nicola saying it on her block carries some more weight, and she may know specifically who this person is, and we'll be able to get things done and convey messages that we can. But that's why it's so important for us to make sure that we're engaged in the places and spaces we are in. So thank you very much for that. And for your loan service, you've been on land use for a minute there. That's what I do. All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Anybody? Suki.
Yeah, hey, so you mentioned parties, and I thought it would be nice to do like a meet and greet for all of the board members. We have a lot of new board members, especially sometime in the beginning of the year. Is that something that we can consider? I mean, we can make it like like a cash bar or whatever, so the board doesn't have to spend money if that's an issue.
We are
Lost me at
already,
cash bar.
yes, I'm literally working on it.
That's
And
amazing, Dante.
Hopefully,
Thank you.
hopefully September, not too late, because the weather's still kind of nice. So we'll see
Yeah.
what comes of it. But yes, I'm
Yeah.
working on that.
And thank you for all your help as always. I know that as Nicholas said, ULURP is a committee that puts a lot of demands on the staff. So, we thank you for all of your overtime and everything else.
Well, I appreciate that. Mia will most certainly appreciate that. And thank you all for the resolutions that you all produce.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I mean, I might jump in for one really quick.
Sure.
Hey, I want to say good job on everything so far. I appreciate the intros. Those are all good. And I mean, the vision for CB9 that I think everyone is moving towards slowly is making sure that this board is like a first stakeholder for the district, right? Where agencies and even elected officials can like sort of come and depend and understand the vision of the neighborhood from in the first place. And I think we're making some good progress toward that. We're getting more efficient. We're getting things done more in a better way every year. Like now we have, I'm not sure if Dante mentioned it, but there is a new intake form where people can submit their concerns and questions and stuff like that, and sort of just streamline the way that we do things so that when people have a complaint or when, the board wants to sort of make a statement, it can happen quickly easily, efficiently, and with as little friction as possible, because that's when you could really get ahead of the game and start making those first sort of vision ideas and making those first declarations, as opposed to playing catch up and trying to fix things and put fires out weeks and months after the fact. And that's sort of why, like, with transportation, when we did work last year, we found that DOT took a lot of our concerns seriously and made real changes to the plans that they had. And that's the sort of effect that we always want to keep seeing. As long as we look out for this community and try to add to it, that's the desired effect. And I think everyone's been doing a pretty good job so far. I just wanted to chime into that, and just sort of iterate that we've been making some good progress on this front over the past while. As for questions, none right now. I hope folks who are new, learn from this and sort of understand, how this works. And I think there should be probably a way for any new person to, pull this recording or pull something like this so they can always learn, or even show it to friends and family so people understand, because it's still, an area that people are a little bit fuzzy on these days.
Absolutely. And this is being recorded, so we will upload it to our YouTube.
And and I do want to share this in terms of, absolutely, we should be very proud of this board and the work and the quality of the work that comes to this. And I think it's important that we set some of the the background with this. CB9, there was a point early in my membership where CB9, we were the joke. And there's no sugar. We were the joke of Brooklyn. And I think we have turned that around 180 degrees. And I mean, I think our board is respected for the quality of the work we put in, the kinds of commentary we do, the way we conduct our business. Perfect? No, but I think that there's a lot to be said with the way we address a lot of these things. And again, we have 10 different subject areas that we have through our committees, and the committees have been productive and they've done a lot. And I'm really looking forward to seeing even greater things coming out of CB9. I'm really excited to have everyone on this board, every resident member and every board member. You bring so much to the table, and you are going to help us move the needle even further. So I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm proud to be a part of CB9.
Same here.
Okay. All right. So with that, seeing no other hands up or no other questions, everyone, thank you so much for coming out this evening. We really appreciate this. This is not the last. If there are questions that come up, please feel free to reach out to either the officers or myself or the district office. If there are any suggestions for improvements, please let us know as well, and we'll try and have the conversation so we can get ourselves better. It's always about improvement. It's always about seeing what areas we can make be impactful. So everyone, again, make sure, please check your calendars, check your emails. Those first meetings are going to be coming right up. Please make sure, if you receive, especially if you receive requests to respond to them. Let us know you've seen them, and then acknowledge wherever appropriate as well. Okay. Otherwise, everyone, please have a great evening, and looking forward to a successful year for CB9.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night,
Great.
everyone.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.